Hey guys, my name's Dave, the artist behind Mercantile Fine Art, and today I thought I'd give you a tour of my studio. Here we are walking into my studio. Right straight ahead of you, you can see a couple of monitors, a painting I'm working on, and some printouts of the planes of the face, which is very important if you plan on doing any human portraits. I suggest you download and print some off yourself. My left here on my desk, really nice long U-shaped desk on the left. I have a printer, very important. Print off some photos, or if you're making any prints, you can do a print to see what they look like. Reference photos, pretty much everything you're going to need a printer for. Right beside that, to the right, I have myself my server. It's an HP server. It's full of hard drives, so when I do a video or a photo or make a print or anything like that, anything I want to keep, it goes directly to my server where it's stored. Top of that is my little grayscale value finder that I made. I printed off and laminated, so I can have that forever. And up here are two very large cupboards. And inside the first one, I have a whole bunch of little knickknacks. I have, thumbtacks for my little push pin wall that I have behind my desk there. I've got sandpaper, really important if you're going to sand down or if you're going to do any gesso on your canvas. You're going to want to sand it down a little bit. I have this neat little kit. It's got a pen. It's got some paper. It's got a tape measure, and it's got a level. So that's really important. I usually use that for my camera when I want to level my camera. I got some razor blades here. The razor blades are for my razor that I use to scratch off my old paint from my palette. I'll show you that here in a minute. In the back there, I got some sandpaper, a bunch more sandpaper. I got my large brushes that I use, my palette knives. I've got towels that I use and screen cleaner that I use to clean off my monitor and anything that is glass, my glasses and that kind of stuff. And in the right one over here, I have a whole bunch of spare paint. All these, some of them have been opened, some of them have not. Some of them I don't use at all. I just have them in the back just in case. Black gesso, really important if you want to do any night images or paintings or anything like that. I usually apply it with a sponge brush. Very easy to apply, leaves no streaks or brush marks or anything like that. I have a marker here. It's actually an acrylic paint marker that I use sometimes to sign or write something down that I need to have some real good penmanship on. You can see I got a whole bunch of different kinds of paints. These are some of the paints that I bought prior to really coming into my own and wanting to do something specific like wildlife. So I do have some student paints. I got some academies, some old Reeves in the back there, more academies. I got some folk art, and to the right there I've got the paints that I use now, which are Liquitex soft body. I've got a few colors, enough to make pretty much any type of painting you want to mix them. In the back there I have a Rubbermaid container that I made into a wet palette. So it's a stay wet. It'll stay wet. It's a nice big one. I used that before I made my my new glass tabletop palette. I'll show you that in a second. Down here on the desk, I've got more of my paints. I've got my golden fluids that are really good for detail work. My open Liquitex, same colors as the top. In the back there, I got my glazing, matte medium, and slow dry. And here I've got my other paints, my student grade paints, my Liquitex Basics and the Grumbacher. I use them mostly for backgrounds and things like that, but when I want to get really detailed, I want to get some smooth paint, something really nice, bright, something that you don't have to put in 40 layers on, then I go over to my Liquitex soft bodies. They're much more superior in that regard. In the back there, my little pin-up area, I've got a little tiny plastic palette that I use for doing some glazing. Actually, I'll fill those up with some glazing medium and throw in some paint, and I find it a lot easier on there. It dries a lot less because it keeps it in a smaller batch. It doesn't thin it out as much. Got the all important painter's tape, scissors. I've got a compass up there. That's very important, I find, if you want to do circles or anything like that, which happens frequently. You know, you want to make a perfect eye or a sun or a moon or something like that. You're going to want to have one of those for sure. Then I have my little stuffy that was given to me by my son. Keep that up there all the time. Thank you card from a patron that I have. Very nice of her to send me that. And my Michelangelo book. Love that book for some inspiration. Go through it all the time. A little binder there in the back with some photos, some reference photos like the planes of the head and some body and stuff like that. When I want to do some portraits, I'll look that up. And then over here, I've got myself a little power bank here, little one for my my DSLR camera, phone if I want to, and just some extra ports if I need it. I got myself my pen holder and a pad. Very important if you would take a phone call or somebody needs something or wants something, you want to write details down really quick. It's important to have. So I got some Sharpies in here as well in case I need to put something on. Pencils, erasers, different kinds of pencils and erasers, so I can add to my canvas, my sketches, or anything like that. I got my two monitors here, one on top, one on the bottom there, my keyboard and my mouse. And that's because I usually put on the top one, I'll throw on, you know, some TV or something in the background just to have some noise. And the bottom one there, the larger one, is going to hold my reference photos, Photoshop, whatever I need to do some editing with and stuff like that. That'll be my main one right there. And right beside it here is where I sit. So I'll sit kind of sort of right in the middle right there is where I'm going to sit. Just beside my computer and my subwoofer down there. My chair will be right there, and you can see down there I've got my computer hanging off that. I have my SD card reader on top of it. I have a color wheel. Kind of important. I use it sometimes, not very frequently, but it's good to have, I think. Stuck to here, I have a couple of things that my wife bought me. These are magnetic. And they make circles and a whole bunch of different shapes. I keep it. They're wonderful. I use them all the time for different things. It's better than the compass because it doesn't poke into your canvas. You don't need to poke anything into it. Here I have a level that I use to level my canvas when I take some photos. And down here, laying on the ground, you'll see my air dryer that I use when I need to dry my paint really quick because I don't want to wait for it and I need to get into it right away. Down here still I have a table with some extra canvas and garbage and some white gesso, a big bucket of white gesso, more canvases, extra water, padded envelopes for when I want to send some prints to somebody. That always helps. Back up on my desk here, I have paintings about to be mailed out, another one about to be mailed out, and a ruler, which is so important. I can't tell you how important a ruler is to have on your desk when you're painting. It's good to take reference measurements and then make sure the measurements equal your painting. I use it all the time. This triple one is mint. It works out. It's got different measurements of different kinds, centimeters, millimeters, inches. So I use that constantly. And beside that is my glass tabletop palette. And on top of that is my white mini Stay Wet palette. So what I do is I put my paint in my Stay Wet. So my paint will stay wet because that's what it's for, right? And then I'll mix them down here. I got all this room. It's massive. I got this from an old glass top side table from a living room. And I actually painted it gray underneath so I can see the tones and the values a little bit better of the paint that I'm mixing. And of course, the best thing for it as well is that the paint comes off super easy. And all you really need is one of these little scrapers, and you just scrape it off. Or if you want to do it even easier, you just put a little bit of water on it, wait a few seconds, and it just comes off just like that. Very simple. And I just take it to the garbage, dump it, and then move on. I'll clean that off later. And then you see me use my little spray bottle, my squirt bottle. I use that, of course, to take paint off. I use it to wet my canvases. I use it quite a lot, actually. In the back, I have a lamp, a nice little lamp. It's got full spectrum lighting. Very nice. Turn it on. See my colors really good. It's LED. I could turn it and face the other way so I can see my drawings better. You all need a paper towel. Everybody needs paper towel. Behind that, I got extra water bin to wash my brushes if I need to. I got a couple of extra buckets of brushes of all different types. I got fan brushes, hog hair brushes, some small detail brushes, a whole bunch of really nice different kinds of brushes. Some are cheap, some are really cheap, some are really good and somewhat expensive, but I haven't really gone into any super expensive brushes yet, because I find some of the cheap ones to be a bit better. Of course, I got one of these, you know, these ShamWow towel things there. I use that to, when I'm done, you know, using my brush and I rinse it out, I'll just throw it on my ShamWow. That way I don't get my table all messy and stuff like that, and keeps everything nice and orderly and neat. And this is my little tray or bucket of my smaller detail brushes that I use all the time. Very important to have, I think. Especially right beside you, that way you can see. I don't like them necessarily standing up like that all the time, because I like to see them on, you know, on their sides, because you get a better profile. You know, if you're looking at a brush like this, you can't really tell that it's a rake brush. So I like to keep them in a spot like that. It just makes sense for me. In this little bottle here, I don't think I explained that, and I don't have much in it right now, but I do have water mixed with slow dry medium. Just Liquid-X Professional slow dry medium. Let's see if I can grab it here. Slow dry blending medium. All I do is put some in there, mix it with water. So when I'm painting and I make a mixture on my palette and I don't want it to dry, or it's starting to dry really, really quick, I'll spray it with a little bit of that instead of using water. Mix it up and it'll stay wet a lot longer and usable a lot longer with that than it will with water. So that's a little thing that I use, a little trick that I use to keep my paints nice and usable. At the end here, I have a tripod that's kind of oddly maneuvered, and that's what I've been recording my speed painting sessions on, is this tripod. But the end of the desk here is where I also do all my my drawing and sketching and stuff like that for my paintings. I do have a chair. Just move it up for you. It's my chair, nothing fancy, just a nice kind of comfortable high back chair. It's very, very comfortable. It's nice to have. And I don't know if you've noticed, but when I went by here, you'll see two strips right here. These are actually Velcro strips, and I use that for my easel. And that's because my easel keeps moving. When I push on it, it slides across the desk, and I have to keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. So all I did was put two strips down on the table, two strips on my easel, and they stick. And I'll show you that here in a second. Let me grab it for you. Okay guys, here's my easel. I had to back up a little bit to show you the whole thing. It is kind of monstrous. I had to modify and make it myself because when I did this 11 by 14 painting, it would not fit on my smaller one. So I had to modify it, rebuild it, and create this really big, nice easel. Still light, still tabletop, and on the bottom of the feet, you'll see the two strips of Velcro, and those just line up. Push down. That's it. It goes nowhere. And I have this little pin here because I find that the paint gets a little bit dry, and the Liquitex soft body spouts get a little bit dry, so I use that to dig out all the crust. I got a couple of palette knives that I keep right beside me, beside my art at all times. You never know when you need it. It's good. It's good for mixing paint. It's good for, you know, doing some mountains or some backgrounds, whatever you need. It's good for landscape, especially. And I'll throw on my current painting, Owls, here in a second. Let me grab those for you. All right, and here is my Owls painting. Let me just put that down there for you. Step back a little bit, and that's it. And that's how I sit. I sit right there. I've got a really nice view to my references. I can, you know, search the internet for anything, pull up questions, Photoshop, all that stuff. Like I said, beside it is my paint mixes and my brushes, and it makes for a very nice and relaxing day of painting. And it's quite nice. Up top, I don't know if you know the lighting I have. I'm not gonna stick my camera up there, but I do have 4 32 watt T5 5500K light bulbs above me. And what those are is the sun spectrum, or daylight spectrum. So you get, when you're painting, you get more realistic view of colors and detail and stuff like that while you're painting. If you're going to paint in a darkened area, or an area where you have soft lighting or warm lighting, as it's called, which is kind of a reddish hue, it's going to tint your paint. It's going to tint your painting. So you know, sometimes you might wonder why your colors look a little off when you're done. You worked really hard on it, but it still doesn't look right. Check your lighting. Make sure you have high Kelvin lighting closest to sunlight, and you'll be okay with that. It's also great for taking photos under as well. It gives you a nice bright section that you don't have any shadows or anything like that on. So I have those almost directly above my painting. I would say it's about, you know, a foot in front of it. So it's almost directly over my head while I'm painting, and it causes me no problems. I don't have to squint or anything like that to paint. So it works out really, really nice. It's a very soft light. I also have, I don't think I showed you, but I do have one of these really nice T-squares. These are perfect for making straight lines. Okay, put it right on top. You can make a nice straight line, either up, down, side to side, doesn't matter. It's got ruler on it, so you got measurements both ways. It's invaluable, and I recommend that everybody go out and buy one of those. So that's it, guys. That's tour of my little area, my studio, as I call it. I hope you enjoyed your tour. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or ask, or if there's anything specific you'd like me to talk about, let me know, and I'll make another video for you. Okay? Thanks for watching.